morning.
ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भाम्
सदाशिवसमारम्भाम् शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम्
शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम्
अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम्
अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम्
वन्दे
वन्दे
गुरुपरम्पराम्
गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ
ॐ
सहना भवतु
सहनौ भवतु
सहनौ
सहनौ
भुनक्तु
भुनक्तु
सह
सह
वीर्यं
वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै
ॐ
ॐ
शान्ति
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 शान्तिः
शान्तिः
Om Tat Sat, Om Namah Shivaya, good morning.
Om Tat Sat.
Om Tat Sat, Om Namah Shivaya.
Okay, so we are going to move on. Shankara Bhashya is over, and we are going to move on to the Upanishad part. This Upanishad is divided into various, you can call it, portions called Anuvakaha, and each Anuvaka is actually one long mantra, right? Except in the first one, which is Shanti Pata. Now, Taittiriya Upanishad is from a Veda called the Krishna Yajurveda, right? And Yajurveda has, of course, two branches, Krishna Yajur and Shukla Yajur. Now, every Veda has got four broad divisions. They are Samhitas, Brahmanas, Aryanyakas, and Upanishads, right? So I am sure you know this. I'm just, you know, reminding myself. What are Samhitas? They are a collection of mantras and various other prayers. And in the Vedic times, what Vedic times? Even today, the mantras, the prayers from the Samhitas, they are used in Vedic rituals. Right? In the old days, the deities invoked were Agni, Indra, Varuna, all the Vedic deities. Right? For example, you will have, I'm just muting you all, somebody's thing is open, so disturbance is coming in. Yeah. So in the old days, when you look at the segmentation of the Veda, you find that there's a Rig Veda Samhita, there is a Yajurveda Samhita, there is a Atharvaveda Samhita. So Rig Veda Samhita basically is the mantras. Then in Yajurveda Samhita, you will find some of the mantras which are used in rituals. Samaveda is basically a lot of Samaveda Samhita is from Rig Veda only. It's in musical form. And Atharvaveda Samhita is different. They got some, black magic and folk wisdom and all those things. That is Samhitas. Then there are Brahmanas. So Samhita basically is a collection of mantras. Then the second division is Brahmanas. Brahmanas are basically the portions talk about karma. It explains the significance and of various rituals, various karma, and what is the procedure. And this is the, you can say it's a sort of an operating manual for the priest who does the various sacrifices. And it's very exploratory in nature. It has a lot of explanations. It has some reference to mythology. The third one is Aranyakas. So Aranyaka is a forest. So basically, this is a kind of a text which is in between the first two and the Upanishads. And you'll find that the mantras here have a lot of symbolic meanings. Of course, they also talk about rituals and upasanas. And basically, they are more simplistic because in the forest, these are meant for the forest dwellers and they don't have access to a lot of materials. So the rituals and upasanas are very simple in nature, don't require much of material stuff, which is unlike the ones in the Brahmanas where you have a lot of material stuff required. And the last one is, of course, the Upanishads. Now that I'm not talking about, but in the Aranyakas, remember some of the Upanishads are also found. And One of the Aranyakas is called a Taitriya Aranyaka, which is part of the Yajurveda. So that is the reason why I, talked about this. So in the Taitriya Aranyaka, which is in the Krishna Yajurveda, the last 6 chapters, last 4 chapters of philosophy, right? The Aranyaka has 10 chapters. The first 6 deal with karma upasana, and the last 4 are basically Upanishads only. Okay. Now, Shankaracharya has written a commentary on the 7th chapter, 8th chapter, and 9th chapter. Right? The 7th, 8th, and 9th. And the 10th chapter of this Taitri Aranyakam is known as the Mahanarayana Upanishad, which is very, very popular one. It's still chanted today. Among all the Upanishads which we are going to study, which we have studied, there are 2 very popular ones which are used for Parayana. One is Taitriya and one is Ishavasya. In the text that I sent you, you will find that some of the alphabets have a line above, some have 2 lines above, some have 1 line below. These are all the swaras. And when you do the swaras, there's a shift in the chanting pattern. So Rituji will today chant the uh, whatever parts we are going to chant. And when she does, please look at that text, because you'll see how the movement of the voice goes up and down, right? So for Parayanam, usually we use the Upanishads which have got the swaras, because the chanting is more, imaginative, more visual. And while Mundaka Upanishad and Kena Upanishad also we do chanting, the swaras are not available. Okay, now we come to the name, Taitriya. So there are 2 reasons why they're called Taitriya. One is simple reason. One of the acharyas in the sampradaya, in the parampara, was Rishi Titri, right? And from this name, Titri, comes the word Taitriya. The other is a more Puranic story. It's given in the Puranas. So since a story, I'll tell you. There was a Rishi called Vaisampayana. He was a teacher of Yajurveda. So he was a Yajurveda Acharya. And he had a disciple, a Shishya, known as Yajnavalkya. It's a very famous name. When we do Bradaranyaka, you will come across that also. Yajnavalkya, when he was young, was as a student, right? He was a student at that point of time. He was very bright. And like most bright people, there's some amount of arrogance also. So one day he behaved very arrogantly with one of the other students. And Vaishampayana, the Rishi, the Acharya, did not like this behavior. And he told Yajnavalkya that you are no longer fit to remain in the ashram, so you should leave. And before leaving, he said you have to return back all the scriptures that I have taught you, all the Veda that I have taught you. So you're not supposed to take this story seriously, okay? So don't ask me questions about how and why. This is a story. So Yajnavalkya said, fine. And he had just eaten. So he just vomited out all the food. And it is said that along with the vomited food, all the teaching that he had received was also vomited out. All this fell on the ground, right? Now, all the rishis there who were standing around, they did not want this very sacred teaching to fall on the ground. So they all turned into titri. Titri is a partridge, right? A bird. And they ate up all the vomited food. Now, so along with the food, they also got the Shruti, the Vedic wisdom. Now, because this was vomited, the color was dark because it was mixed with blood. And that's why you get the name Krishna Yajurveda. Krishna here means what? Dark. And of course, the story goes that Valkya left the ashram, then went to Surya Devata, and from Surya Devata he learned the same teaching. And since Surya Devata is bright, that Yajurveda is called what? Shukla Yajurveda. Shukla being bright. Anyway, it's only a story, right? Let's not take it seriously. Now, um, as I said, the last four chapters of the Taittiriya Aranakam are Upanishads. The seventh, eighth, and ninth chapter is what we call Taittiriya Upanishad. The 10th chapter is called Mahanarayana Upanishad. It's very famous even today. Now, each chapter of the Taittiriya, there is a nomenclature. That name is connected to the first word of the chapter. And the first word of the first Anuvaka of chapter 1 is what? Shiksha. And therefore it is called Shiksha Vallihi. Valli means that part, right? That chapter, that section. We should note that there are three chapters in the Taittiriya Upanishad. And actually, the Jnanam part, the Vedanta part, is only in the second chapter. And therefore, that is the most important chapter because it is Jnana. The first and third chapters are in the form of karma and upasana. Right? So we are getting a lot of karma and upasana. You are getting in Chandogya, we are getting tons of upasana. Here also you will get upasana. Okay. There is something which is special about this Upanishad. Most Upanishads have got only one Shanti Pataha, right? But here, this Upanishad has got two Shanti Pataha. The first one is for the first chapter. The second and third chapters have got a separate Shanti Pataha. So the first one has got Shanno Mitraha. The other one is Sahana Bhavat. Okay. So with this, we will move on to the Shanti Pataha, Shanno Mitraha. Please keep yourself muted. Open out the document and look at the text with the with the intonations, with the swaras. And I will request Rituji and Nirveshji to chant.
Thank you, Acharyaji. So the text is marked with, this has certain markings. The vertical bars on the top are, so there are primarily four commonly used swaras, and the vertical bars above the text are called svarita, and the horizontal ones below are anudata. So anudata is the lower note, Swarata is the higher note. The one which is in the middle is called Udata. That's the base Swara. And at times there are two vertical bars seen, and that's called a Dirgha Swarata. So these are the commonly used Swaras in the text. Om Shanno Mitrasham Varunaha Shanno Bhavatvaryama Shanna Indro Brihaspatihi Shanno Vishnurukramaha Namo Brahmane Namaste Vayo Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma Vadishyami Ritam Vadishyami Satyam Vadishyami Tanmamavatu Tadvaktaramavatu Avatu Mam Avatu Vaktaram Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, Rituji and Nirveshji. So before we go on to the explanation, just one small point. You must have noticed that the first Shan was pronounced Shan. Om Shanno Mitraha. While the second Shan was pronounced Sham. Sham Varunaha. Rudraji, would you like to tell them why you did that?
G. So that sham has a dot on the top, which is called anuswara. And so there are rules to be followed while chanting. And if this anuswara is followed by na, in the first instance, it is followed by na. So it is pronounced as shan na, because that is the, in the Varnamala, the fifth vertical column is called the, all those letters in the fifth vertical column are called the Anunasika aksharas. So in the first, that is kakha, the first is nya. So it's pronounced as nya. And that the second one, mitrash sham, that's a sh. So here this, not this one, the sham varunaha, the anuswara is followed by va. So this is that is pronounced as a nasal va, like sham varuna, not even sham, but sham varunaha.
Okay. Thank you, Rudraji. So you'll find that these kind of, changes are there while chanting. And since Taittiriya is basically run with strict chanting rules, these are the reasons why you find these changes. Shan no mitraha is the shan is because, as she said, because the na follows the anuswara. And because there's no na, there's a va instead, so it becomes sham varuna. Chanting rules just for your information. Okay. Now what does it say? Shanno bhavatuhu. So, mitra bhavatuhu. Mitra is friend. Shannaha. Shannaha means sham is basically uh, a source of pleasure, sukham. So sham naha bhavatuhu mitraha. So mitra here is the first devata. Okay. And mitra is basically is defined as the presiding deity of the day. Ahan. Aha. The presiding deity of the day is the Mitra Devata. So he's saying, may that Devata be a source of Mangalam to us. Shannaha. It is Naha. Naha means us or me. So may that Devata be a source of Mangalam, auspiciousness to me. And Shankara adds in his commentary that this Devata, he's the presiding Devata for prana, exhalation and inhalation. So by invoking him, what are you saying? That may I continue to breathe during my class. Let me be alive and focused during my class. So Shankara writes, Pran Vrittehe. Vritti means a function. Pran Vrittehe, function of the prana. So while studying Vedanta, let me continue to be focused and breathing properly. Then Varunaha Sham, right? May Varunaha be the source of Mangalam, auspiciousness for me. Now, Mitra was the presiding deity of Aha, the day, and Varuna is the presiding deity of Ratri, right? So, Shankara writes, Apana Vrittehe Ratrascha Abhimani Devatatma Varuna. Varuna is the presiding deity of the Ratri, the night. So, may my breathing continue during the night also, right? So, Apana here is not the excretory system. It is the adhogamanavan vayu, the inhalation. Then Aryama. So Aryama is another name for the Suryadevata. So Suryadevata is who? The presiding deity of the sun and of course of Chakshu, of eyes also. So you're invoking him, let my eyes be focused. Then Brahaspati Indraha. So may Indra and Brahaspati, Lord Indra, King of the Lords, and Brahaspati, the preceptor of the Lords, may he be Shannaha, a source of Mangalam to me. May he be source of auspiciousness to me. Then Indra Bale. Indra is Bale. So Indra is the presiding deity of strength. So may he bless me with strength and happiness. Then why Brahaspati? Brahaspati is the lord of speech and intellect. So Shannaha, may he bless me with good speech and clear intellect. Right. Now, remember here that Shishya is praying. Right. What is he saying? Naha. Naha can mean me, Naha can mean us. But here we take the us. So when Shishya is praying here, this us is who?
Along with the teacher.
Last year.
Shishya and the teacher. So Shishya is a very subtle prayer. Please bless my teacher also, so that he can communicate properly. You know, and therefore I can understand. Very nice prayer. Then Vishnu Urukrama. So Urukramaha is long strides. Vishnu is that Lord of the long strides. Now, do you know why Vishnu is called Urukramaha?
Vamana Avatara. That.
Vamana Avatara story. I hope
Yeah.
everybody knows. If
Yes.
everybody knows. Anybody doesn't know? Fine. Okay. So Vamana Avatara story. So what is
Acharya,
he?
could you please tell once? Sorry.
Sorry, oh Kush. Okay.
Yes, please.
Would somebody want to tell Kush the Vamana Avatara story? Come on, guys. It's connected with Onam, by the way.
He was a small dwarf who took 3 steps to destroy Kalika. It's,
I think it is that demon king Mahavali, and Vishnu took that Vamana avatara, and he asked him for land which he could cover in 3 strides. And so he obviously agreed, and then the Vamana avatara took in 3 strides he covered the earth, the heavens, and so he didn't know where to keep the third step. So then I think the king said, "You keep it on my head." And
Yeah. So there was this story related to Kerala. Okay, there was a king called Mahabali. He was a very, very famous king and a lot of charity and all that. And he was so famous that the gods got jealous. You know, gods get jealous very fast. So they sent Vishnu to teach him a lesson. So Vishnu appeared in front of Mahabali as a dwarf, small person. And he went there and said, I've heard that you're a very charitable person. Will you give me what I want? So Mahabali said, of course. So this Vishnu said, give me enough land which I can cover with 3 strides. So Mahabali laughed. This is a dwarf. You know, how much land can he cover in 3 strides? He said, fine. Then suddenly Vishnu grew in size. With one stride, he covered the earth. When one second stride, he covered the heavens. And then he said, I've covered both these. Where do I put my third stride? Third leg, where do I put the leg on the third stride? And Mahabali said, okay, put it on my head. So with that, he was pushed into the lower regions. And then because Vishnu was pleased with his humility and his charity, he told him that, okay, fine, you will stay in the lower regions, but once in a year, you can come back to meet your people. That day is Onam. Okay, so anyway, that's the story. So this is a reference. The Urukramaha is a reference to those long strides. So he is basically the presiding deity of the legs. And this you should know. Where did we see that Vishnu is presiding deity of the legs?
Padayor Vishnu.
Your Vishnu. That is in Tattva. So in this commentary, Shankara says that in the same manner, you have to invoke all the devatas associated with all the indriyas of the Suksha not just one. Then Namo Brahmane. So Brahman here is Saguna Ishvara, the Hiranyagarbha. So Namo Brahmane, prostrations to Saguna Ishvara, Hiranyagarbha. Then Vayoho, prostrations to you. Right. So now how do we know what is the difference? So, because there is Vayu and there is what? There is Hiranyagarbha also, right? So, Brahma and Vayu both are there. And Shankara comments on this. Namo Brahmane Namaste Vayoho. He says one is Saguna Brahma and one is Vayu. How are they different? What is the connection? Shankara says both are Hiranyagarbha. Can you understand why he says that? Why does he say that Brahman or Saguna Brahman is Hiranyagarbha and Vayu is also Hiranyagarbha?
Maybe
Brahma,
Samashti.
and Vyashti.
Why? One is Samashti, one is Vyashti. Why?
Um,
So you are connected to Sukshma Shariram. Hiranyagarbha is Samashti Sukshma Shariram, which means it is the cosmic prana. Universal Samashti prana is Hiranyagarbha and Vyashti prana is Vayu. Okay, so that way. And he says also that Hiranyagarbha cannot be experienced, but Hiranyagarbha as Vayu is a subject of daily experience. Right? So this is up to here is the namaskara that we are doing. Then the Shishya starts stuti, the glorification. He says, Tomeva Pratyaksha Brahma. That Pratyaksha Brahma, perceptible, intimately known Brahma, you are. Vadishyami, I shall declare. And Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma, that is, you are the intimately known Brahma, and Ritam Vadishyami. So you also are the rhythm here is the correct understanding, correctness, understanding of Shastra. So correctly understood Shastra Jnanam is rhythm, right? So there are two words, rhythm and Satyam. And Shankara says rhythm should be understood as correct understanding and Satyam should be understood as the implementation of that teaching, assimilation of that teaching. So both you only are, He Saguna Brahman. And Tad Avatumam. May that Saguna Brahman protect me. How? Avatu is protect. How? By enabling me to correctly understand. Then Tad Avatu Vaktaram. Vaktaram is the speaker. The speaker here is Acharya. Tad Avatu Vaktaram. May that Saguna Brahman protect my teacher also. Bless my teacher also. How? By giving him the ability to communicate properly. Remember here, the student is there because he wants to understand. So in his prayer, he is invoking the Lord and telling the Lord, please bless my teacher also. Because unless you bless him, he will not be able to communicate properly. And if he doesn't communicate properly, then I don't understand at all. So it's a very subtle idea being conveyed over here that when you go to a teacher and you are not able to understand what he says, and you are a sincere student, and you have listened to the class carefully, and you still not understood what the teacher says, it means the teacher has not been blessed by Saganeshwara. So maybe it's time to change it, teacher. It's a very, very subtle idea. Then Avatu Mam, may he protect me. Avatu Vaktaram, may he protect my teacher. So of course, the repetition, right? And Shankara adds here that repetition of these words are just to highlight the fact that these two skills are very, very important, right? The good student and the qualified teacher. And Om Shanti Shanti. So in this, through the Shanti Pataha, the student asks for what? Number one is Jnana Yogyata Prapti. So what we call Karana Yogyata. All the Karanas, all the 17 or 19 Karanas, whichever you take, should be in fit condition. That is number one. Number two is there should not be any pratibandha, any obstacles. And obstacles are three: Adhyatmika, Adidevika, Adibhautika. Right? Adhyatmika, Adidevika, Adibhautika. There should not be these pratibandhas in my study, right? Which means there should not be such pratibandhas that my organs, indriyas, will not function. And seven devatas are to be invoked, each devata presiding over one faculty. So there is a Mitra devata presiding over the prana, exhalation and inhalation. Then there is Varuna devata presiding over apana, inhalation. So Mitra and Varuna stand for the respiratory system. So he's saying that when I am doing Shravanam, please let my breathing be proper. Let me not get asthma or something like that. Let me just be able to listen properly. Then Ariyama. Ariyama presides over Chakshu Indriyam. So let my eyes be in good condition. Indra presides over my hands and like strength, basically bodily strength. So let my limbs be in good condition. Brihaspati presides or wisdom, communication, intelligence. And this is important not only for the student, but for the teacher. So let all this be there. And Vishnu presides over the feet, right? So even you can take it as let my legs be strong enough to bring me to class. Or also you can take it as let them be strong enough for me to be able to sit in one place for 1 hour. Right? So then there is the last Vayu Devata. Here is Hiranyagarbha Devata also. And here Brahmane refers to Samashti Sukshma Shariram, the total subtle body. That's why it is Paroksha, he is Paroksha Devata. But that same Saguna Brahman who is Paroksha, who is away from you, who is not available to you in Vyashti form, in Samashti form, is available in the Vyashti form, in the form of the air that you are breathing. So Vyashti Vayu is Vyashti Hiranyagarbha. So in the form of that breathing, that air which you are breathing, Hiranyagarbha is said to be Pratyaksha, accessible to you. How? Through your nostrils. While in the form of the total Samashti Hiranyagarbha is total mind, the universal mind, and not available to you. And why are you invoking all these devatas? There's only one purpose. Mangala Kalapsham Bhavatu. Let them all be a source of auspiciousness to me. So after each devata, you have to add shan, sham. And naha means for us, for all the students, and this includes the teacher also. Let the devatas be a source of happiness. I do namaskara to that Hiranyagarbha. Right? So we remember that whenever we light the lamp in the morning, what are we doing? We are worshipping that Saguna Brahman in the form of Agni Tattva. And that is why for us, all Panchabhutas are also Ishvara only. Then Tumeva Pratyaksha Brahma Asmi. You are that Lord whom I can see everywhere. Right? This is a very important idea for us. That the whole universe is nothing but the Lord. And I am declaring iti vadishyami. I am declaring this to everybody. This is my understanding. This is correct. So rhythm and satyam vadishyami. So if you look at the dictionary, you will see that rhythm and satyam mean roughly the same. The dictionary meanings, there's not much of a difference. But because they are being used together, there has to be no defect of repetition. So here, yatha jnanam, that is the rhythm. And yatha acharati, the implementation, the living the life with taught by that jnana is the satyam. So rhythm is what I know. Rhythm is what I know. Satyam is what I implement. So, and if I have to act according to my knowledge, then that knowledge has to be valid knowledge. So, yatha shastram jnanam. Knowledge in keeping with the shastram. Knowledge which is not negated by Shruti, Yukti, Anubhava. This is right knowledge. And from that right knowledge alone is right action. So rhythm is right knowledge, right action. Satyam is right knowledge. Tanma avatu. This is the prayer for pratibandha nivrittihi. May Hiranyagarbha protect me from all obstacles. Tad vaktaram avatu. Of course, is a prayer to keep the acharya healthy so that I can teach me. Vakta is a teacher, is a speaker. So it can mean acharya. Acharya in this case. And then again he repeats this prayer just to, oh Lord, I'm repeating it. But if you not heard the first time, please hear it now. Avatu ma, avatu vaktaram. Remember here that avatu, the protection, here is only in terms of what? In terms of pratibandha nivritti, in terms of removal of obstacles. And the three Oms are chanted, which are Adhyatmika, Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika, Pratibandhas. Each Om, Shanti, let Shanti implies that let these obstacles be removed. So the first Om, let the Om Shanti is let the Adhyatmika obstacles be removed. The second Om Shanti, let the Adi Bhautika obstacles be removed. The third Shanti, let the Adi Daivika obstacles be removed. Okay. Now remember that this particular Upanishad, all the mantras are in prose form. Okay. You will not have metrical mantras. And therefore, the whole text is divided into paragraphs. And each paragraph is called Anuvaka. Right? So each chapter has varying number of Anuvakas. Now, Shiksha Valli, for example, has 12 Anuvakas. The Shanti Pata is also numbered, falls among one of the numbers. So the first Anuvaka is Shanti Pata. And you'll find that in this chapter, the last Anuvaka is also Shanti Pata. Therefore, the first Anuvaka Shanti Pata, 12th Anuvaka Shanti Pata. The Upanishad falls between the second Anuvaka and 11th Anuvaka. The entire Shiksha Valli is basically sadhana pradhana valli. It is focused towards predominantly sadhana for Chitta Shuddhi and has no Vedic teaching at all. And you'll find that a variety of sadhanas are mentioned here for Jnana Yogata. Some sadhanas are in the form of Kayika Karma, so you can call them as Panchamahayajna. And these are important to what, beat what, because they involve physical activity. They're important to address Tamogana. Many karmas are at Vachika level, like Parayanam, Japa, right? So Parayanam basically means reciting. You can recite without knowing the meaning, but if you do a Parayanam knowing the meaning, it is said that it is much more effective. So in Parayanam you chant. In chanting and Parayanam, there's a difference. In Parayanam you chant with no repetition of the text. In Japa, you chant also, but you repeat the name several times. You keep on repeating the names. So the difference between Parayanam and Japa is also chanting. Parayanam is also chanting. Japa is repetition. Parayanam, the whole passage is chanted. No repetition is involved. Okay. So Shiksha Valli talks about two types of japa. One is for Jnana Yogita and one is for Jnana itself. Right? You will find that again in this Valli also, there are different types of upasanas. It is all Vedic upasanas, not done anymore. Right? So, because mostly we do only Puranic upasanas now. So this is, as I said during Chandaka Upanishad also, this is very useful to us to understand what was karma and upasana kata. It's a very useful academic exercise to understand how this upasanas were actually being done. So with this, we'll go to Anuvaka number 2. I will request Rituji in relation to chat.
ॐ शीर्षाव्याख्यास्यामः वर्णस्वरः मात्राबलं सामसन्तानः इत्युक्तः ईक्षाध्यायः.
Thank you. Okay. So here there is a little on the science of pronunciation. So Vyakhyasyaamaha Shiksha. So it means I am going to talk about the way to pronounce Vedic mantras. Varnaha. Varnaha is the alphabet. Swaraha. So these are the various factors involved in pronunciation. So Shiksham Vyakhyasamaha, I am going to talk about how to pronounce. What are they? What are the factors involved? Varnaha, the alphabet is involved. Swaraha, the accent, the intonation is involved. Matra, the measure is involved. Balam, balam means emphasis. Emphasis is involved. Samaha, samaha is the speed, the speed of chanting. And Santanaha. Santanaha means it is the conjunction, the joining, right? Then iti uktaha shiksha adhyayaha. Iti uktaha shiksha adhyayaha. You can understand this iti uktaha. This has been taught in shiksha adhyayaha in the chapter on the science of pronunciation. Is the word meanings. Now let's look. So this Anuvaka begins with the word Shiksham, right? That's why this chapter is called Shikshavali. Now, if you look at any dictionary, some of you may already have noticed that Shiksha here is taken with a lamba E, long Ika matra, right? And the dictionary usage will be always short E. It's Shiksha, not Shiksha. But the Veda is using Shiksha. So what should we say no, this is wrong, or what should we accept? What should we interpret?
It's the Vedic usage of the word.
You say it is a Vedic usage. In Bhagavad Gita also, you would have noticed in some places Purushaha is used. So Purushaha. So this is all Chandasa Prayoga. It's all, usage for Vedic purposes. So that we accept it as it is. And this Anuvaka is talking about the Parayanam as a sadhana. So why does Upanishad have to talk about this? The reason is that because earlier there were no books. Everything was karna paraspara, the oral. The entire teaching was oral. And it is necessary for, especially in Devanagari and Hindi also for that matter, it is necessary for the pronunciation to be very clear and very correct. Otherwise, the very meaning of the word can change. So let me give an example. There are many das, not English, the Sanskrit or the Hindi the. There's a the, right? If I say Satyam Vada, and I want to say Satyam Vada, but I'm not clear in my talk, so I say Satyam Vada. What is the difference?
Kill the truth. Vada.
Satyam Vada means tell the truth.
Yeah.
Satyam Vada means kill the
Kill the
truth. Small pronunciation difference, right? And since it is Karna Parampara, you don't know which the that speaker is talking about. So if the Acharya kept on saying Satyam Vada, a completely different student would come out. right? He would never talk that, never say the truth, right? So that is one reason why this kind of uh, detail is there in the Upanishad. And also, if you have to do Veda Parayana, you should know how to chant properly. And therefore, the chanting rules are very important. And there is a whole shastram called Shiksha Shastra. There is the science which prescribes the rules of chanting. And all those rules which Rituji was talking about, they are all part of Shiksha Shastra. So we can call it the science of phonetics, pronunciations. Now, when we studied Mundaka, we talked about 4 Vedas and 6 Veda Angas, right? Shiksha, remember? Shiksha, then Kalpa,
Vyakarana.
Vyakaranam, Chandaha,
Yes.
and Jyotisha, right? So there, the word Shiksha was used, but Shiksha, the short E, right? But here it is Shiksha, so you take it as Vedic usage and you say it's fine. Now you'll find that those who have more time and have do some elaborate reading, that many acharyas have written very elaborate books, texts on Shiksha. The most popular one is called Panani Shiksha Shastra. And that, what is mentioned there in these texts is being captured here, saying that there are 6 important ideas to be talked about when you are talking about chanting. So one is, as I said, Varna alphabet, Swaraha accent, Matraha measure, Balam the strength, the emphasis, Samaha the pace, the speed, and Santanaha the conjunction. So let's just look at the Varna. So one must, if you anybody who has learned the Sanskrit alphabet formally, he would know that the pronunciation always is linked to a part of the body. Do you know that?
Yes. Talavya, Nasika.
Mudanya.
Yes. So that is what is being Varna. Varna is, and therefore Sanskrit alphabet is arranged like that. And unlike in English, where the vowels and consonants are all, one mixture, one amalgam, here they separate them. The consonants are grouped based on which part of the body, which part of the mouth, tongue, throat, etc., is responsible for the origination of that consonant. So that's when Varna, you must know to pronounce correctly. Then Swaraha. Swaraha is the pitch in which the alphabet has to be uttered. High pitch, low pitch, medium pitch, or higher pitch. So there are 4. The lower, the normal, that's the medium, the high, and the higher. Right. And this is what Rituji was talking about. They'll be all marked in the Vedic books. Right. The swara must be properly chanted. If you don't chant the swara, you will find that the meaning will change. While chanting, the swara is not properly chanted, the meaning will change. And there is actually a very famous story about this. So there is the story of Purohit, right? His name was, I think, Vishwarupa. I'm not very sure. I think his name was Vishwarupa. And he was one of the priests of the Devatas. He was a Purohit of Devatas. But secretly, though he was a Purohit of Devatas, secretly he liked the Asuras. So one day, I suppose Indra and he got into argument about this because Indra was the king of the Devatas and he didn't want his Purohit to be showing any partiality to Devatas. It's a bit like India, Pakistan today. Okay, some Indians show partiality over there. So, so Indra got angry and killed this fellow, Purohita. Vishwarupa had a father called Twashtha, I think, Twashtha. So Tvashta, when he saw his son being killed by Indira, he was very angry. He wanted revenge. So he did a yajna, right? To and the purpose of the yajna was that a son should be born to me who will be the person who kills Indra, right? So he had a son who was called, I think it was Vritasura or something, very sure. Vritasura, I think, right? So here is yajna. Now in the yajna, there's a word to be chanted, Indra Shatru, right? Now, if you are chanting Indra Shatru, what is that? It is the person who will kill Indra. But if you reverse the swara, Indra Shatru, then it is the person who will be killed by Indra. So the swara is indicating that. Unfortunately, he was so angry that when he was chanting, his swara went wrong. And he said Indra Shatru. So the son was born, but the boon was that this son would be killed by Indra. So the change in swara changed the meaning from the killer of Indra to the one who will be killed by Indra. Right? It's a story to indicate how important the swara is. And therefore, we say that when you learn chanting, especially with chanting means normally means the one with swaras, right? Because initially, I suppose all the Upanishads had swaras, but very few are now available. And therefore, traditionally, when you learn chanting, you have to learn from a Vedic Acharya only. Because if Vedic mantras are wrongly chanted, either in pronunciation or wrong swaras, the results can be negative. And this restriction is for Vedic Parayana. Okay. Non-Vedic Parayana, there is no problem. You can always chant. I'm not saying you should make mistakes, but even if you make mistakes, there is no. That is one thing. Okay. And what is one very important, what I call, learning that we have got earlier also? If chanting is being done for loka prapti, for material results, then this rule is important. And that is why, because he was chanting for a son to kill Indra, that's a materialistic expectation, phalam. That's why chanting was important. Had he been chanting for Chitta Shuddhi, it was not important at all. For Nishkama Karma, mistakes in chanting do not take away from the result. So it doesn't mean that you should make mistakes in chanting. Okay. It just means that if you make a mistake in chanting, it doesn't really matter because you're looking for Chitta Shuddhi. So that is the second one. The third one is Matra. Matra is the length of a vowel. Okay. Now here, if you look at vowels and consonants, you will find that consonants have uniform length. Length. And when I say length, I mean the length of time used in pronouncing. Okay. So consonants have uniform duration, but vowels, when chanted, they have different durations. So the length of the vowel is called matra, and there are three measures: short, long, and very long. So very long is called prolated. I think it's called in English. Longer vowel, right? For example, sahana bhavatu. Sahana bhavatu. Sah and ha are short. Na is longer, right? Then the prolated vowel is called pluta, right? Pluta in Sanskrit. And for example, Hari Om, right? When you pronounce it correctly, the pronunciation is Hari Om, right? That's the correct pronunciation for Hari Om. You have a Hari, you have a Visarga after it, and there's a Om. So Harihi is fine because the Visarga is there. But the Om is not Om. It is Om, so Hari Om. So in the books like the one which I have showed you, which I have shared with you, in those texts where the matras are being mentioned, when there is a prolation, when there is a prolonged elongation of the vowel, right? When it's a pluta, you will find that they will write a number 3 after the alphabet. So after Om in this case, you will find 3 written, which means 3 means the unit 1, 2, 3. That the pronunciation should be for 3 units, right? And of course, it's rare, but you have plutas with 4, 5, and 6 units also. Normally, you will find 3. Thus, for short, it is 1 unit. For long, it is 2 units. For very long, pluta, it is 3 units. Everybody is understanding, I hope. What are the Sanskrit names for short and long?
Rasvadri.
Rasva, Dirgha, Pluta, right? 1, 2, 3. So that is the about matras. Then Balam. Balam is the strength, the effort that you are applying in uttering a letter, right? For example, Cha. Cha is short. Cha has got more Balam, right? So this Balam can be either in here or over here, in the throat also, either in the mouth or in the throat, right? And again, you will find that if you go back to the chart of Sanskrit alphabets, you will find that the effort put in the mouth can be under 5 categories. The effort put in the throat can be 11 categories. So all these you will find very elaborately in Shastric texts. We are not going into that. And another side note is that most Indian scripts have got most of the letters. Okay, maybe Tamil has some missing, but most Indian scripts have got most of the letters of Sanskrit. Okay, most. I'm not saying all. Then the fifth one is Sama. Sama means the speed of the chanting, right? And in his commentary here, Shankara says, in this particular mantra, Sama is to be taken as medium pace. One side note is that if you really want to chant, you shouldn't have a text in front of you, right? You should have memorized the text. And that is why you keep regular chanting, because chanting keeps the memory fresh. Okay. Now, what is the sama part of it? What is the various speeds? When you chant for, in the old days, they used to commit entire Upanishads, entire Veda to memory, and you have to keep chanting for the purpose of keeping it fresh, because otherwise you will forget it. So for abhyasa. So when you do for abhyasa, when you chant for abhyasa, just for practice, making sure that you don't forget. Remember here when I say chanting, I'm not talking about having a book in front of you. I'm saying that you have memorized the whole thing and you're chanting. So since you are chanting abhyasarthe for the purpose of keeping the memory fresh, then the speed can be very fast. Right? When you are chanting as in a ritual, in a karma, in upasana, wherever you're chanting, then remember that every letter is to be pronounced clearly. For abhyasartha, for remembering, you are going at a fast pace, it doesn't matter. You're skipping over letters, you are fumbling over letters. Because you know the letters, you know the alphabets, you know the words, and you're only trying to keep it fresh in memory. But in the ritual, it has to be very, very clear. Therefore, medium pace. So, abhyasarthe dhrutam vritti. Prayogarthe madhyamam vritti. Right? Prayogam means the usage. Usage is the ritual. Then, when do you chant slowly?
While teaching.
When teaching. Therefore, Shishyanam Upadesharthe Vritim Vilambitam. So those who know music, Vilambitam is what? A slow pace. And therefore, when you teaching the mantra to somebody else, you have to chant very slowly so that the listener gets to understand. But here, as I said, the term sama means medium paced chanting. So we have hit the time barrier. So I will stop here. The meaning of the word sanatanaha we will take up in the next class. Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Tat Sat, Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience.
Shivaya.
Any questions may please be put in the group. I will answer. Thank you so much. Om.
Thank you.